Welcome one, welcome all to the greatest crossover event that unfortunately exists in the history of the world. This is the NFC East Mixtape volume. I really don't care at this point. You can listen to us on any of the four NFC East blog podcast networks across SB Nation. Hogs Haven for Washington Commanders content, Big Blue View for New York Giants content, Bleeding Green Nation for Philadelphia Eagles content, and Blogging the Boys for Dallas Cowboys content. You can also watch this on the Blogging the Boys or Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channels. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from BGN. I am RJ Ochoa, and I am not having fun. Brandon, week 1 in the rearview mirror, week 2 here, and unfortunately, there are 16 more of these things, 17 more of these things before the journey is all over once again.
RJ, you are in shambles because the Dallas Cowboys suck, dude. They suck. They're done. They're cooked. They're toast. Can't wait to get into them, but we have to get to them last because we go by order of division standing, and we all know that Dallas is last in the East, the only team to not score a touchdown in NFL Week 1. A beautiful, beautiful thing. So many listeners, RJ, are looking forward to this week's episode. So, you can't take it personally. I can't let you off the hook. There's a lot of pressure. No. Everyone, RJ, I have people in real life who are like, you need to take it to RJ. I see people on Twitter be like, you need to take it to RJ. I mean, the Cowboys kind of, they own themselves a lot. They've done a lot of the heavy lifting for me, but I am not going to go easy on you or them just because of that.
So, look, a couple things to be very clear. First of all, I actually received a lot of notes of kindness from Eagles fans on Twitter and Instagram. A lot of people saying, like, can't wait for the mixtape, things like that. That's a really exciting thing. But a lot of people, like it's so bad that people are like, dude, this isn't fun. Like, this, I feel badly for you. But I don't think that, and we'll get to the Cowboys last, deservedly so, as you mentioned, but I don't feel like I'm taking anything. I'm not trying to be I was right guy, but I also had a lot of Eagles fans. Shout out to Michael Kist, one of our bosses here at SB Nation, who said, like, I called this. Like, this was all.
You took them to win the division. You still took them to win the division. Okay, you can't have it both ways.
There's a reason for that, and I'm excited. Let's just so our formula.
You can't get into the Cowboys. It's too early.
I know our template for the NFC East mixtape. Now that we're officially in season, we got a game behind us, a game in front of us. This will be kind of the way we rock and rhyme all season long. We'll touch on the games that happen, get to the big storylines, and then kind of give our thoughts on the week to come. Obviously, again, unfortunately, we have several months of this chaos to look forward to. But the Philadelphia Eagles, BLG, defeated the Denver Broncos. Goodness gracious. That Monday night game, by the way. We record these on Tuesdays for new listeners around here. So if something happens Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, we're recording this just before lunchtime. But Brandon, the Philadelphia Eagles with the big dub over the Detroit Lions on Sunday, 38-35, the final score. Do you want my takes first? Do you want your takes first? How do you want to do this? Because I had some that Eagles fans clap back at on Twitter.
Yeah, I want you to go first because I'm interested in an outsider perspective.
We decided to leave Bear in the office for the recording, by the way. Hey, the Bears won. Shout out to him. He's very excited. My big takeaway, we were kind of chatting about this offline with Rob Stats Guerrero, who you can hear with BLG and myself every Friday on the SB Nation NFL show feed, where we look forward to every single one of these games. We all picked the Eagles, but something we were talking about was this. I don't feel like this was the true, like, live up to the hype game the way I kind of wanted it to be. Not that I wanted it to be, but like I needed it to be to believe in this team.
Eagles fan and you comes out.
And AJ Brown looked great. Again, Stats was the one who built the case against him in the offseason, not me.
Yeah, why did he do that? What a pathetic job by him.
Seriously. I do think it was a little bit concerning if you're looking for a thing to be concerned about if you're an Eagles fan, that you let the Lions kind of come in backdoor cover. That's troubling. That's concerning. I understand the hatred towards Jonathan Gannon, feeling like this Lions offense, had success or whatever the case may be. AJ Brown did look great. Devontae Smith, I do kind of, for Eagles fans' sake, worry that like Devontae's just going to be this forgotten man, that AJ is going to get like 12 targets a week, and that Devontae Smith is just like a guy and a dude who's there, who maybe wants out in the future. The biggest takeaway, though, and this is something that I imagine you're dealing with a lot. I think there are a lot of Eagles fans who are just riding the good vibes, riding the good times. Hey, we won. Everything's great. Why do you have a problem with this? Blah, blah. This team can't win the Super Bowl. It can't, because of Jalen Hurts and who he is as a passer. That's it. Like, and like, maybe they can. Like if we ran this simulation a million times, there are obviously a handful where they win it in this way. But this is not the best way to live and to operate in the NFL. I did not see an improved passer. He looks like the same dude. We know he's an amazing runner with the football, but he cannot throw it. And that's kind of an important thing if you're a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I was lower on this performance than others, which probably isn't a surprise to many because I'm apparently the biggest Jalen Hurts hater. But it's not about, I want to be very clear. I'm willing to admit I'm wrong. If Jalen Hurts plays great, I like that. First of all, it's better for me business-wise. It's better for me mental health-wise. My rooting interest-wise, I want the Eagles to be good. But I'm just going to be honest. And I was honestly, like, a lot of people like that performance. And it was having a hard time with this one. I'm like, am I being too harsh here? But then, I was listening to our good friend Ben Solak, who does a podcast now with Shil Kapadia for The Ringer called The Philly Special. And Ben was getting into basically everything I was feeling in terms of, this is nice. This Jalen Hurts was a win because of quarterback in this game. Like the Eagles won that game. Like that was a win because of kind of performance, which is what I've said is important. The Eagles need to see that from him in order for him to be their franchise quarterback. He can't just be along for the ride. He can't just be a win with quarterback. But the way it was a win because of performance is like not a sustainable way. You can't just have your quarterback always bail you out on 3rd and long by running with the football. Going into the game, and I forgot to clear this into my winners, losers, and I don't know articles now that I'm thinking about it, but Mike Payton, who I talked to from Pride of Detroit, had a line about like the Lions are awful at defending mobile quarterbacks. So like, this is expected. Like they're not good at defending running quarterbacks. And like to give Jalen Hurts credit, he's like an elite running quarterback in the NFL. He's one of the best. It's a legitimate weapon. I think it's a very nice tool to have. And again, he made the most of it. They won the game, but he also like ran 18 times. He took a bunch of hits. Some of them were illegal, but they still count all the same in terms of like taking a toll on someone's body. And the thing is, RJ, it's not just about, like what if Jalen gets injured? I was going to say, what if Jalen Hurts gets hurt? It's not just about that because he's pretty durable. He's tough, but it's like, okay, that's fine. Maybe he won't miss games, but what if it is a repeat of the end of last year where he could play, but he clearly got banged up to a point where his mobility wasn't at the same level, and all of a sudden he doesn't have the passing talent to really compensate for that, and then you go up against the Bucs in the playoffs and you get down 31-0. Like, so he still hasn't answered the question. Can he beat good teams? Can he beat good teams, especially with his arm? And I don't know how much we're actually going to see of that this year because the Eagles' schedule is so freaking easy. And it's week 1. Look, there's no panic button here. I just don't think it was like, I don't think it moved the needle is the way I'd put it. And I think that's what you're saying. Like, they're not like Super Bowl contenders all of a sudden. Or favorites. They're contenders, but not like favorites.
The state of the NFC lends itself to the Eagles having a lot of success, which is why it was so frustrating watching the Cowboys and all their inactivity over the offseason. They look like one of the best overall machines, but they have, they're a better team than the Packers. They're a better team than the Bucs. They're a better team than the Rams right now. But I'd rather have all of those quarterbacks. Obviously, Dak Prescott's not healthy. I'd still rather have healthy Dak Prescott, even as bad as Sunday night was, and we'll get to that. But I mean, I just, again, like front to end, maybe there's a way that he can win. Obviously, if he can, if he can ride the kind of wave of the entire, running game as a whole. But what happens if you're down 4 with like 1 minute, 7 seconds left? Like, there's no way Jalen Hurts can engineer that drive if you have like one timeout. You just can't. You know what I mean? Like, he cannot.
I don't know about that as much. I think he has been really good in 2-minute situations.
Okay, and this is stupid because this is like design. This is like, hey, let me design the most like, difficult thing possible for Jalen Hurts to have success in. And then you tell me that he can't, and then I prove myself right. So I'm not trying to do that. But like, if he had to rely on his arm, I don't think anybody can say they believe in him. Like at this point, and it's week 1, there's still opportunity for growth. But sure. I mean, this isn't the recipe. I mean, and I think that you're still, and again, it's week 1, and you have every right to feel awesome if you're an Eagles fan, but you still don't have an answer one way. This is the worst case scenario we talked about for the season as a whole, where you're trapped in purgatory. You don't know if this guy is a functional franchise quarterback, but you're going to have to maybe pay him in the offseason.
I think enough people don't think about worst case scenario that way. I think people think the worst case scenario, because in a vacuum, like it would be like the quarterback is terrible. Mm-hmm. Like that's not, because if the quarterback's terrible, in theory, you're able to move on and maybe get a good one. The worst case scenario is committing to one that you're just topping out with. That's my worst case scenario. So I definitely think there's a lot of things to be ironed out, not with just him, but across the board. And that's fine. You'd rather have a performance where you need things to work on when you're 1-0. Like, okay, it was ugly, whatever though. We're 1-0.
Moral
we have
loss,
time.
baby. Moral loss.
It was kind of a moral loss in some ways. But more so, I would say, on the defense than Jalen Hurts in terms of that. I mean, the defense, like, come on, man. Like, Jonathan Gannon, the big thing with him, to flip it to that side of the ball, is that he didn't maximize the talent he had last year. And look, the Eagles have new starters on defense, a bunch of them. Like, you can apply caveats and like you can give him some level of grace, but at the end of the day, you're giving up 35 points. Let me pull up the numbers here, right? Yeah, 35 points. It was the second highest scoring total of week 1, only behind the Chiefs. They gave up 5.8 yards per play, which is the 10th highest total. And for perspective, 5.8 yards per play ranked 28th worst last season. Lions converted 9 of their 14 third down tries, and they were 1 for 1 on fourth down as well. Like, that is so pathetic. Like, the Lions are not this amazing juggernaut.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little underrated, possibly.
They're cute.
But like, it's Jared Goff, and he didn't even play well. There are multiple throws where open target or whatever overthrew him. And the Lions had like at least 4 drops. I feel like it was even more than that. Like PFF said 4, but I felt like it was even more than that. I mean, DeAndre Swift had 9.6 yards per carry. What are we doing? What is this? It's pathetic. That game should have been a blowout. There was a point in that game where James Bradbury returns the pick 6. You're like, okay, this is a point in a game where like things start to fall apart for the other team. Like, it's going to unravel from here, going to cruise to a win, and it didn't. And to the Lions' credit, they kept fighting, but that's what they are. But the Eagles, they didn't stomp on them. They didn't like smother them when they had a chance to do so. And it's not concerning to the point the season's over, but it's concerning in that like they should have done better.
I agree entirely with all of that. And people, I'm sure you've heard like, "What, man? Why are you so upset after a win? Oh my gosh, did they win the game? You know what I mean? Were we watching different games? You know, like again, like." The goal isn't to win week 1. Obviously, it's important, and all these games are important. And there are a lot of things to feel really good about, and a lot of reasons to continue to praise Ty Roseman. Like I said, AJ Brown looked great. The run game as a whole looked great. Miles Sanders looked great. I mean, like lots of positive vibes in that sense. But the most important one is, do you have a franchise quarterback? And you still don't know the answer, but you are in the best possible case overall in a lot of different ways to learn that, right? Like, not only are you having success and winning games, against only one game, but still, if you have draft capital, you have cap flexibility. Like, the Eagles are in the you should feel great if you're an Eagles fan, but you shouldn't feel like life is perfect. But okay, let's move on, because we technically are only one way through our 8-game discussion because we have a lot of things to touch on. The Washington Commanders, Brandon, have never lost a game. All right, the Washington Commanders, that is 28-22. You foolishly went into the icebox on the look ahead and took the Jacksonville Jaguars. Not enough. I think they were one of the worst looking teams relative to expectations, because a lot of people thought they'd be cute and plucky, and a lot of people thought Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson would play all right. But no, Carson Wentz had some Wentz moments, both positively and negatively, but 28-22 the final score. Antonio Gibson was using the passing game. Terry McLaurin looked great. Jahan Dotson looked great. This looked like an offense that can be functional in the NFL.
It did. It's still Carson Wentz. Like, at the end, this is like a Carson Wentz performance.
He was still better than Matt Ryan, and I was so proud of myself. But that was the big thing. Like, they got the like 17th best quarterback in the NFL. That's a notable thing.
This is an anti-Colts thing. We're talking about this is the NFC's mixtape, RJ. We're talking. You can bring this up on the look ahead, but he was Carson Wentz. Like, you saw the highs, some good throws. You also saw the lows that like put the win in jeopardy, and more than it should have been. And against a team that is, for as much as I love Dougie P, it's still a team that finished with the number 1 overall pick 2 years in a row. By the way, I got to call out Hog Saban. Like, it's one thing to be excited, to win. But like, they had this tweet after the game that was like something to the effect of like, "Oh, the Eagles almost lost to the Lions," and it was just like, "Oh, Washington looks great. You guys almost lost to the Jags." You can't be like acting like, "Oh, we're the best team by far in the East."
I think they should have lost. Like, Travis Etienne had some really bad moments in this game. Like, you don't have to butterfly effect this game a lot to make it a Jaguars win.
I mean, I'm looking at the stats here, and like, the Jags only had 2 fewer first downs. They had the Jags outgained Washington in terms of yards per play. Also looking, Jags.
Trevor Lawrence, technically, I don't know. I understand people don't love QBR, but Trevor Lawrence had a higher QBR marginally than Carson Wentz. Like, again, it was kind of like Washington lost the game less than Jacksonville did. But I do think that there were signs of promise. Like there were the touchdown to Terry McLaurin was a phenomenal throw by Carson Wentz. Like you can see, like I think like there have been times where with Washington there has been like it's been nothing. Like you can't. So we love to say like can you see a path? There's been nothing. You can't identify good play, especially at the quarterback position. There is good play. It is sparing and it comes in pockets, but it does exist. And so you can see them winning 7 to 10 games, like if the right kind of breaks go their way.
I think Washington has a middling kind of ceiling. They're a decent team, and there's something to be said for that. I don't think they're the total joke that maybe we thought they would be or other people thought they would be. I think they're a solid team. They're going to be a team that's tough for the Eagles. Like I think they're the second best team in the NFC East right now, right? I mean, they're the team you feel like second best about, especially with the way the Cowboys are cratering.
They have the second best quarterback with Dak hurt.
Yeah, they have a legitimate, and some would argue the best, and they have a legitimate like chance to win the division. I think. I don't think they will, but I think they're in the discussion. They're in the mix. They'll be solid. This is not like if they were actually like good, legit good, then they would have stomped the Jags. It wouldn't have even been close. And
the defense also like had some nice moments. Like again, like there's some things that you can. It's not hard to talk yourself like. I don't know what like Washington sports radio is like, but I don't listen to it obviously, but I bet Monday was filled with some like, hey, you can see this team, winning the division to your point, like catching a little bit of fire. Like they have a very clear ceiling, but it's not before the playoffs start. You know what I mean? Like that's, and in that sense, like the trade for Carson was worth it.
It was interesting to me to see the video. Did you see the locker room video of Ron Rivera handing the game ball to him? And like, yeah, Washington fans, if you're buying that, like, all right, we'll see how long that lasts. I don't buy them again as this actually legit NFC contender, the conference contender as a whole.
Sure,
but I do think they're like going to be a pesky team to play. Like they're going to be annoying. It's not just like you walk in and you get a free win. They're going to be annoying to play.
I was really impressed with Jahan Dotson, and look, I'm not trolling, and I say this very carefully. I think there's a world or a path when the season's over, Washington had the best receiver duo in the division. Dallas is not in that mix, like especially with the quarterback play, and we'll touch on that. New York's definitely not in that mix. I don't know what to think of Devontae Smith, and that isn't me being down on him, but like I don't know. Like we've even talked about this. Like he's not somebody that works with Jalen Hurts. It's very clear that AJ Brown is by far the best receiver in the division. But if we're looking at the duos, I could see Washington having the best or at least the most accomplished when it's all said and done.
And I will note that you probably didn't see the full game. Devontae Smith, he had 4 targets, 0 catches. He did have a nice catch that was wiped out by a holding penalty that had like nothing to do with the play. And then he had another should have been catch. The ball was a little bit underthrown, and also it was a pass interference, but the pass interference got wiped out by an offsetting penalty. So, like, he played a little bit better than the boss. He did have a drop as well, but I think he played a little bit better than a typical 4 targets, 0 catches game would show because of some unfortunate circumstances. But yeah, it's absolutely a fair point. And AJ Brown, we didn't get to him enough. I know that we're in the Washington segment, but dude, like, come on, like he was awesome. Like 150. It's the most great. It's the most receiving yards by an Eagles player in their debut ever. Like in this first, like it's crazy. He's a stud. Like that's not a guy teams have answers for. Like, and so it will be interesting, I guess, to take it back to Washington to see, because it's hard too. Like, so you have to like AJ Brown is so far out in front that even if Devontae Smith is solid, like I think that kind of makes them the best. Even if they're not evenly pulling their weight there.
But not if he's used that or not used. Like what it reminds me of.
He can be used more than this. Teams are going to start putting more attention onto AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith will have opportunities. He looked good in camp when he got chances. Like I have no worries about him in terms of talent. I do agree. Like the usage will be interesting to see, but Washington's right up there to your point. Like Terry McLaurin's great, and Jahan Dotson. We said in all for as much crap as we get about not giving enough respect or attention, whatever, to the commander. Oh, this is just an Eagles and Cowboys podcast. We said consistently, like Dotson could be an X factor. I think we named him our X factor for the Commanders.
2 things. One, I'm talking to every Eagles fan that isn't Brandon right now. I'm not ready, but I'm at least thinking about being ready to write my apology letter for my AJ Brown trade take. All right, like I'm not ready to write it, but I'm at least like thinking about it. Like I'm at the point where I'm like, well, where do we have the paper in the house? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do I want to write it in blue or black ink? Am I going to go cursive? Do I want to type it and just sign my signature at the very bottom? So I'm at least thinking about it. All right, AJ Brown. I think there's an argument to be made, and it's week 1. So like, week 1 reaction, but like, there's an argument to be made right now that was the best trade of the offseason. Like that there's a huge argument to be made that is.
Imagine if you're the Packers right now, and you're like, how did you not? They had what, 2 first-round picks? Like, how do you not like? I know the Eagles pick was a little bit higher, but they could have made it work if they really wanted him, and they should have wanted him.
I don't think that he's a better receiver than Devontae Adams or Tyreek Hill for that matter. But like.
Still, though, like if you're the Packers, why wouldn't you get him?
I like the trade for the circumstances for the type of quarterback that like he has elevated Jalen Hurts again through one game the way Amari Cooper elevated Dak Prescott.
Yes.
Like that's why that trade was worth it, because if you can unlock the franchise quarterback, it's worth it. Now, I wanted to make this analogy. What Devontae Smith reminds me of, and I got a PS5 over the weekend. Finally, it took forever.
Not the Xbox.
Anyway, you ever play a game like Spider-Man or something, like a role-playing game?
Oh, I love Spider-Man.
Right, thank you. Where you like unlock a new suit or something, right? And you're like, this is awesome. This is my favorite suit, whatever.
What's your favorite Spider-Man suit?
Well, I'm kind of a classic guy. You know what I mean? So I like the classic, like vintage look. But anyway, so you unlock a suit and you're flying around or whatever, you're doing this and that, whatever game, and you're like, this is awesome. Like I'm never gonna wear another suit in the game, outside of like whatever benefit it might give me. But then you unlock a different suit and you're like, oh, that one I really liked. Like, dude, I can't wear that. Like this new one is even better. That's AJ Brown to Devontae Smith. Like you really like that suit, but you're like, I can't, like this other one is just so much better. Like, this is kind of where I'm at.
You're a Devontae hater. It's fine. But back to Washington, because we got way off track on them.
New York
or back
suddenly
to New York.
Good again at football Giants. We'll take a break in a little bit. But the New York Giants got the dub. Brian Dable was dancing in the locker room, 21-20. If there was ever a reason to justify the non-belief in the Tennessee Titans, it was this. 21-20, the final score in Nashville. The Giants 1-0. Shout out to Davey G, who died so these Giants could live. Obviously not literally, just a metaphorical sense. Daniel Jones was kind of Saquon Barkley. Are we going to write an apology letter to him? BLG,
Possibly.
18 carries, 164 yards, and a touchdown, including a long run of 68 yards, 1 yard away from a nice moment here. We've said all along, this was kind of a great week for all of our priors being confirmed.
Right.
Like we've said, like this season, the Giants and Commanders have different ceilings, to be very clear. Like I think if you're a Commanders fan, you should be focused on competing, winning the division. That path is there for you. If you're a Giants fan, it's not. Like just don't let the week 1 win fool you and sway you. But this is very, very positive. If you're a Giants fan, huge step in the right direction. Huge, loved Brian Dable going for and getting the win. Joe Judge would have never done that. Like
no.
It's a Cowboys fan that bothers me that they're now like smart and understand like basic common principles, things that should be basic. This was a really huge injection of positive vibes for the New York Giants.
I think it all goes back to John Mara, like admitting he was dumb, or like admitting like he messed things up, and we needed to start new, and we needed to like go in a whole, self-aware, and I think that's what the Giants have been doing since then. They've been on the right path. On the Daniel Jones point, I want to point out that good friend KSIXI on Twitter, a former Big Blue View writer / contributor who I follow on Twitter, he always has great takes on the Giants and lives in Philly, if I'm not mistaken, or at least did it one time. So he's a Philly guy in one sense. But this is what he tweeted about Daniel Jones' performance, and I thought it was a nice way to sum it up. No closer to finding out more about Daniel Jones after that game on Sunday. It was emblematic of his career. Some really nice plays, gutsy, tough plays, a few misplays, and of course, 1 or 2 backbreakers. The Giants are going to move on if this is how the season goes. I looked at the Giants box score on Sunday, and I was like, did he fumble? And sure enough, he did. That does not go away. It's always going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, this season is not their goal was to play spoiler, basically. And what did I say? I think it was the look ahead. I was like, you know what I think the Giants are going to be? They're going to be this year's
Lions
of last year. Like they're going to be that feisty team that, sure enough, is aggressive and going for it. And like you can see the makings of something promising, but the talent just isn't there. The quarterback just isn't there. They're just not there yet. But you're starting to see some encouraging signs and something to believe in. And then going into next year, like the Lions, RJ, they had like a sellout crowd for the first time in 5 years, non-Thanksgiving games. Like they were freaking juiced for that game. And I think like if this is the path for the Giants to like okay, it's tough. We're gonna lose some tough games, but next year, like the next year is gonna be like a year where we take a step forward, or things are looking promising. We're gonna get really excited. So it was I know the Titans have had like a stock down off season, but like it's a team that, as much as we didn't think they were actually representative of what a number 1 seed is in a conference, it's a team that still did that. And for a team like the Giants, who've been the worst team in the NFL since 2017, beating that team is an accomplishment.
It's not like a king-making performance, and it's not just about them being the number 1 seed a year ago. The Titans have been a really stable organization for the last few years. So getting a win there, season opener, is very, very positive. I didn't expand on your Lions Giants point when we talked about on the look ahead, but the more I think about it, it really does hit very well. So good job, you. I think about a team like the Vikings, who a reason I was high on them is because they had so many like fluky losses a year ago. That's why I like them so much this year. And one of their losses last year was to the Lions. And so I think that we're going to look at some teams next year who maybe had some kind of weird fluky losses to the Giants this year. And those were just examples to your point of kind of the Giants playing over their heads, getting big wins. So good for them. Again, I don't know what I feel about Brian Dable. I don't know that I feel confident in any of the Giants receivers. I will say, if I have to like turn negative for a brief moment here, this is I don't think in any way the worst case scenario for the Giants is Saquon Barkley like playing out of his mind, but it would be kind of a terrible thing if he plays out of his mind all season long, and then you're forced to give him a big time contract, and then you're stuck with that once you've kind of started to take some steps forward in 2023.
Spoken from someone who saw this from the Ezekiel Elliott perspective, I do agree that, I mean, Saquon in theory has the potential to be like an exception, a guy who would be worth a second. Like,
yeah, but you can't bet on that. Like,
if anyone, I'm saying, if anyone, yes, like him at his peak. But yeah, it's not a bet I would like to make, or I think is smart to make. I mean, we will absolutely write the apology letter to Saquon if he continues to ball out like this. Like, this is like, again, 18 for 164, 9.1. He had the long of 68. I wanted to see, like, when I saw that score at first, the box score, like if this was like a Saquon game where like he's like, if you take the one long run away, he's averaging like 2 yards per carry. Yeah. Because that's been him in the past. Right. Like he'll have the one big run, but everything else he just gives you nothing. And that wasn't the case. So yeah, really impressive. He also helped with 6 catches for 30 yards as well. So yeah, that's yes, I agree that is like a questionable long-term sustainable thing in that element. But you'll take it in the short term, just like you'll take Jalen Hurts, leading the Eagles to victory for now in the short term. But yeah, really, you probably couldn't have done realistically better. Like the Giants basically did like as much as they could do that you could feel happy about. I feel like.
Yeah, they're like, my son is, he'll be 10 months old in a few weeks. It's like when he eats all his food. You know what I mean? It's like, good job. You know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about the Giants right now. Okay, this takes us to the only team who Denver Broncos fans are grateful that they are.
You feeling a little chilly over there, RJ?
I don't know what this bit is. This cold? Is not funny.
I think the Cowboys are in the icebox. They're the only team in the NFC that hasn't won.
I'm so happy you did the sound effect. That really makes me happy. We had a lot of
double in the icebox because they're the only team to not score a touchdown as well, which I already said, but I needed to reiterate.
First of all, this gives me great joy because I think you're in on the icebox bit for the look ahead. Everybody listen over there on the SB Nation NFL show on Friday.
This is why you have to listen to all the episodes, the mixtape, the look, because you're missing out what the icebox even is.
Exactly. I took the Cowboys. Like my fan card, I dropped, and I'm fine with that. Like I have no issue. Like
he's a broken man, ladies and gentlemen.
Being sad that I wanted them to win. I don't know that we really have to touch on the game that much, like as much as the like ensuing fallout.
Game doesn't matter. They lost. They got blown out.
They lost. They looked like
the long term.
Spoiler alert, I haven't written my power rankings yet today because we're recording on Tuesday, but I don't know how I don't have them as the 32nd overall team in the NFL.
Wow.
Like, I mean, well, who looked worse? Like, who looked worse among like the way that? No, but like they looked. You can make an argument that they were the worst looking team in week 1, and they're worse now with Dak Prescott injured. Like they are maybe the worst team in the NFL right now. They have a great defense. They have Micah Parsons, who had 2 awesome sacks on Tom Brady, and that's great. But I mean, dude, like I'm astounded. Like I'm truly and utterly flabbergasted level amazed at how quickly the house of cards came tumbling down. I mean, it was like a snap. It was like a Thanos snap that just like it was like it's almost like the NFL universe said, "You think you're smart, Cowboys? You think you got this? We're gonna spit in your face and prove you wrong." They have taken nothing seriously over the entire offseason. Nothing. I mean, they didn't take the offensive line seriously. Tyron Smith gets hurt. Do nothing. They signed Jason Peters. Cool. We'll see how that works out. They didn't take the receiver position seriously. Let Cedric Wilson walk. Traded away Amari Cooper. Signed James Washington. Cool. Drafted Jalen Tolbert in the 3rd round. James Washington got hurt in training camp. They did nothing. In fact, they did sign Kevontae Turpin. Oh, man, they're going to use him on offense. Not a single offensive touch. Jalen Tolbert, he's going to be awesome. He's our day 2 pick, 3rd round receiver. Healthy scratch for the game.
Scratch.
I mean, it was a pathetic level of predictability unfolding in front of our very eyes. I actually have a question for you. Because sometimes we can get stuck looking at like our teams through our lens. I think you agree that happens. I've been following the NFL for a long time, covering the NFL for a long time, as have you. And I cannot remember something this surreal happening where Chris Collinsworth, correctly, by the way, on the call is trashing the way the Cowboys built their team. Like I can't like there have been a lot of questionable decisions made by a lot of NFL teams in the last 20 years. I can't remember like the universe being in such strong level of agreement. Like there is nobody who is sitting here saying, yeah, Cowboys were right. It was a good plan. You know what I mean? They did it the right way. Nobody, like everybody agrees that they tore this down for stupid, foolish reasons and did nothing to build it back up. I mean, can you recall anything that is similar to this? I mean, I feel like I'm living in a reality show.
No, I mean, this is all very predictable and not to the extent I think that it happened, but obviously, again, really bad vibes, which was a big concern going into the season. But it was at a point where you were like, okay, I can acknowledge all this is bad, but they still have the best quarterback. Like, right. But they can't be that bad, right? Is what you're talking yourself into at that point. Like I'm not expecting them to be great, but they're not going to be like a total joke. and that's exactly what they were. And dude, like, what was up with Dak? Because he obviously got hurt, and that's a big concern. But like before he got hurt, he looked terrible. And it wasn't just a matter of like, okay, his offensive line got worse and everything, which didn't help him for sure. But he's just missing throws and making bad throws. And I tweeted this during the game. He only had 1 pick. He should have had at least like 3 picks, dude. He had like a bunch of picks that were dropped. I feel like anecdotally he gets away with more drop picks. Maybe I'm biased, but in any case, like at the very least in that game, he should have had multiple picks. I don't know. I mean, what was going on with him?
He and CeeDee Lamb both played very poorly.
Yeah, CeeDee looked bad, man.
But like multiple things are true. Something we say a lot. They both played very poorly. They were both put in very difficult spots by the team. Both of those things can be true and separate from one another. Like they played poorly partly because of the way the Cowboys built the team, but they also played poorly like independent of things. I mean, dude, like they didn't like. You know, they didn't score a touchdown stat is like what's flying around. They barely crossed midfield. I mean, you know, like at the near the end of the game after the Donovan Wilson interception, obviously at that point, like, you know how sometimes games are just chaos and you're just kind of living in it. I tweeted at the time, like, awesome Donovan Wilson interception. Cowboys offense, now do something with it. Don't just get 7 yards and throw up a sad face. They didn't even get 7 yards. They got 2 yards on that possession after the interception and then punted. I mean, like, they looked like one of the most dysfunctional offenses I've ever seen. And I'm so sick of Kellen Moore. I mean, like, again, let's put some blame on Dak. Let's put some blame on CD. But, we're going to manufacture touches for Kevontae Turpin. Not a single offensive touch. And why? Why do you have to give Tony Pollard the ball in the most complicated ways possible? Why are you reverse pitching, triple optioning Tony Pollard? Just hand him the ball. Just tell Dak or Cooper Rush, whoever, to turn around and hand him the ball. It is so just I truly don't know who I feel the worst for besides like me and Cowboys fans. Like, I feel for Mike McCarthy, and I know you don't. I know a lot of people think he sucks, and I'm not saying that that's not true. But if Dak is out through the bye, and we have that to touch on as well, Mike McCarthy will have coached 41 games for the Cowboys, presuming he makes it to that point. Dak will have been out for 19 of them. Like, this era has been filled with so much just swirling chaos that, I mean, it's been impossible for anyone to thrive. Granted, they had success last year. And I mean, I think they overestimated themselves. I still think Dak is the best quarterback in the division. I still think CeeDee Lamb has a bright future in the NFL, but they overestimated foolishly because you don't have to. Like, you never had to rely on Dak to be your savior. You never had to rely on CeeDee to be the dude who wins against triple coverage. You didn't have to do that. They're clearly not those players. That's not a fault of theirs, but you built this so that they have to be, and now you're stuck. Like, what a big shocker that Noah Brown and Simi Fehoko weren't enough to get it done. And now what sucks is people are trashing them, right? Like, they suck. That's so unfair to do to them.
It's their fault.
Yeah, I mean, I just have no idea how this is a thing. I have no, and this thus begins like our spinning forward. So a few different kind of points of chaos for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott has the thumb injury, had surgery on Monday, is now on the path towards recovery. Every national insider, national reporter, 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. That was the reported time frame for like 2 days straight. Jerry Jones takes the airwaves to 105 through the fan on Tuesday morning. We're not putting him on IR. No way. We think he could be back within those 4 weeks. Dude, what? Like, that just is so stupid. Like, it's so ridiculous. So you've got that going on. You've now got Conor Mcgovern dealing with a high ankle sprain. The same Conor Mcgovern who is only starting at left guard because you had to kick Tyler Smith out to left tackle because Tyron Smith predictably got hurt, and you waited 2 weeks to sign the actual left tackle for this team. It's a comedy of errors. Beyond that, Jaron Kearse is now hurt, has an MCL sprain. They do kind of have some depth at safety, so that's like kind of the one spot where they're all right. They still don't have a swing tackle. They don't have a swing tackle. They have no more interior guard depth. And on top of that, we have this Micah Parsons thing, which I did want to address just because people might see it. We don't know the full story. I do want to couch that with this. But today for Brandon and I is Tuesday, and it had previously been announced, partly by Micah, that he was going to be appearing on Undisputed every Tuesday on FS1 to kind of just talk Cowboys, whatever. He, according to the show, did not show up on Tuesday. And we're recording this just before lunchtime, has not given a reason, has not said anything. There could be a justifiable reason, but right now there's nothing from Micah. So we have no idea why he didn't show. Like, the vibes, you said the vibes are bad. Dude, that was so wrong. The vibes are on fire. Like, this is the like, I mean, this is Sharknado. Like, this is so bad. Like, there's nowhere to turn. I'm actually amazed that it continues to get worse. Like, I keep thinking like we've hit the bottom. There's no more that they can do to make this bad or to hurt me. Yet they always find a way. But shout out to them, Brandon, because Sunday was the highest rated season opener on NBC since 2015, a game that also featured the Dallas Cowboys. Woo.
I was looking through the Cowboys game log to double check their longest drive into Buccaneers territory.
Opening drive.
And yeah, it was a 31-yard line. They didn't get past the Bucs 31-yard line all game long. They didn't get into the red zone one time.
And they had an interception that kind of started right near midfield. I mean, like,
so that's pathetic. The Dak injury thing, like, I can't believe, like, why would you? This is your starting quarter. Like, why would you? What's the earliest he could really play? The fourth week there, really, like that fourth week, so you don't put him on IR, so you can get him in that fourth. Like, that's so
the fourth game, by the way, is on the road against the Rams. So, like, if he were to return in the fourth week,
it's just. I just think you're thinking about it wrong. Like, just put him on IR. You save the roster spot, which is a nice advantage, and you give him that little extra time. The little extra time is going to be. It's a throwing hand injury. Like, how is he going to, like, even if he comes back early, that's not like a matter of just pain tolerance. That's like affecting your ability to do your job. And he didn't look good when he was healthy. How's he going to look even better now? He's playing hurt. I get that the Cowboys are kind of
I hate
screwed.
the national spin too. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but it's like,
what's the national spin?
Well, he's not on injured reserve, so he can be in practice and he can be talking to and communicating with Cooper Rush.
No, it doesn't matter.
Stop this. Like, this is dumb. This is so silly. And it's not a coincidence that the first, I said every national report, the first national report that hinted at 4 to 6 weeks was early Tuesday morning by Tom Pelissero on NFL Network. So Tuesday morning, Tom Pelissero comes out. The same Tom Pelissero who got, and look, Tom's awesome. Like, I'm not trying to say this to slight Tom, but the same Tom Pelissero who did the McCarthy Project report back when McCarthy was re-entering the coaching cycle, and the same Tom Pelissero who got a 1-on-2 interview with Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott at training camp last year, a very close to the Cowboys reporter, comes out and says, well, it's 4 to 6 weeks. Jerry hits the radio a few hours later hey, we're not putting him on injured reserve. This is just like, and it could happen. It's possible. We've seen it, players overcome things, but it's so unlikely. For the purposes of this exercise, let's start the ship. Actually, let's take a quick break and hear a word from our sponsors. All right, Brandon, while we were gone, you came back with a T-shirt that says, I heart the Cowboys, but instead of a heart, it has a middle finger. Do you feel that way?
No, my shirt is actually the Writers Guild of America East shirt.
WGAE.
No, shout out.
We love them. Okay, let's start the spin forward. So for the purposes of this exercise, let's assume that Dak is out through the bye. That's what I've estimated myself. My own personal
8-week timeline, right?
Okay, you tap dance while I take care of Bear.
All right, I'm going to tap dance while RJ goes off camera. See, if you're not watching the podcast on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel specifically, I know RJ would want me to plug the Blogging the Boys YouTube, but I mean, come on, really, you got to watch the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube video. You can see him going off screen right now. You can also see me smiling a lot when I am laughing at the Cowboys' misfortune. Okay, I was just talking about why people needed to watch the video edition and not just listen.
That's crazy.
What were you talking about? What were we talking about?
So let's hypothetically say Bears barking in the back on their.
Oh yeah, let's say it's the 8-week timeline and Dak is out.
So they're 0-1
after the bye.
They're 0-1. Let's try to be as optimistic as possible, but they're not going to make a move at quarterback. Seems like it's Cooper Rush. Of the available options, I would rather they start Will Grier just because he's more dynamic. He can run more. He's more athletic. Like at this point, you literally need to grasp at any kind of straw.
Do you want them to trade for anyone? Because I feel like that's getting talked about.
I hate the trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Why?
Why would the 49ers do that though? Trey Lance doesn't look good.
But you're at a level that I'm not even at with that.
Right.
I agree with you, but my point is how does that help you? You're gonna have to give up a 3rd round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. So when you're probably gonna have a new coaching staff here next year anyway, and then he's not great. You were the worst looking offense in the NFL with Dak, and I know people are down on Dak, but he's still a much better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. And then because the world is full of silliness, whenever Dak is back, if he plays poorly, start Jimmy, start Hill. You just don't need that. You don't need those vibes. But okay, so let's presume he's out. Let's try to be as optimistic as possible. Mm-hmm. And let's assume Cooper Rush is the quarterback for all these games. I don't know if you know, Brandon, but Cooper Rush went to Minnesota and beat the Vikings last year. Aaron Rodgers couldn't beat the Vikings on Sunday. Okay. They're losing against the pissed off Bengals team on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So they're losing there. At New York Giants the following week on Monday Night Football. Troy is going to rip them. Troy is going to destroy them on Monday Night Football, by the way.
I think they could win one of the 2 NFC East games.
So the game you're talking about is the next week they have the Commanders at home. I agree with you. I think they split those games. So we both have them at 1-3, right?
Yep.
And then at the Rams, that's a loss. So they're
probably a loss. I have a tough time knowing what to make of Stafford, but whatever. I think that Aaron Donald can.
Right. So they're 1-4. Then they're losing at Philly 2 times in 3 years. A backup quarterback playing in Philly for the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football.
Cowboys matchup is cursed, dude.
The one in Philly is cursed.
Game. Yeah. You're not getting quality matchups between these teams.
So 1-5, and then the 2 games before the bye, Detroit, Chicago. I think they split those. This is kind of so.
One of those.
So we both have them at 3. 3-5 was the case. They were 3-5 in 2018.
That's optimistic too. That's
right. They were 3-5 in 2018 when they traded for Amari Cooper. They wound up winning the division. Some of that was the circumstances around them. Some of that was Alex Smith got hurt because the Commanders were in first place at the time, 4 years ago. But so you're talking about 3-5. And again, just looking forward here. Say Dak is back. We have no idea what he would be at that point in time. But very quickly, at Green Bay, at Minnesota, probably both losses.
Wait, how did they get to 3? So we picked them 1. We split the first 2 NFC games. I think. Oh my gosh,
you're right. 2-6. We have them 2-6. Okay, so 2-6, and then at Green Bay, at Minnesota. Maybe if we're being optimistic, you split those. Again, we're trying really hard at this point. So you're 3-7. Then you get the Giants at home. Again, for the purposes of
sweeping the Giants.
For the purposes of being really kind, I'll give them this win. So they're 4-7. The Colts are frauds. I'll say they split those Giants Colts games. So they're 4-8. They probably split Houston Jaguars. They're 5-9. They lose to Philly at home, probably in all likelihood. They're 5-10. I mean, and then at Tennessee, at Washington, say you split those, you finish the season 6-11. I mean, I don't know. I can't paint a. And I've done that before. I've sang that song before. When a franchise quarterback's gone down, there's a way. Just got to get here. You just got to do that. No, this team is too bad. This offense is too bad. The defense can't carry you that far. It can't. It cannot. It can't.
I think the worst case scenario for the Cowboys, speaking of worst case scenarios again, is not that. I think it would be better stick with me. I think it'd be better if Dak was out for the season, because then it's a lost year, and then it's clear you have to move on. You have to make sweeping changes. We messed up. You have to go back to what I said about John Mara.
You have to face reality.
You have to face reality and look yourself in the mirror, and you can't make any excuses for it. And also, you get a good draft pick too. You have one of the best picks. You can get a blue chip player at the top there, as opposed to Dak comes back. There's this kind of false positive. They're like, oh, we did some positive things at the end of the year. We kind of went on a little bit of a run, but, Dak got hurt. So what could we do about that? We're going to actually keep Mike McCarthy again. We're not going to change much. Like, you don't want to delude yourselves and lie to yourselves. I think that is the worst case scenario for the Cowboys. So I think that's worse. The fact that he might come back and maybe they do go on like this too late run, like it's too late. But they
you turn the 4th overall pick into like the 9th overall pick with your fluky.
We made some progress at the end of the year. Now that'll carry over to next season. Doesn't work.
I do think, again, multiple things can be true. I think Mike McCarthy is getting a really raw deal. I think Mike McCarthy's in a really unwinnable situation, and I think they're going to move on, and they're going to blame him for it. Like he is clearly, especially now that Dak is hurt, he is clearly the fall guy. Some of it is warranted, some of it is not. I mean, this is chaos, dude. Like nobody can thrive in this. Nobody can. I mean, it's but we both have them losing to the Bengals, obviously on Sunday, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think the Bengals are going 0-2. Burrow didn't play well.
I will
against Pittsburgh, but
I will write my apology letter to AJ Brown live on the NFC's mixtape next week if the Bengals lose to the Cowboys. And
that doesn't make any sense.
I don't care. I said it. I've decreed it. Okay. Let's move back. Like we'll snake back. We went down. I like this kind of move now. So the New York Giants this coming week, Brandon, are 1-0. I think they get to 2-0. They have the Carolina Panthers.
We're talking about the undefeated 2-0 New York Football Giants.
Well, you just wait. You just wait till we get through this here. But did the Panthers impress you? No.
No,
not at all. Like the Panthers looked awful. The Panthers could I was so disappointed. Like get DJ Moore involved. Like what do you Robbie Anderson? Fine, but like Christian McCaffrey is who we correctly slight Saquon Barkley to be. You know what I mean? Christian McCaffrey's the he got his 60-yard run. He got, and there was because I was watching Red Zone, obviously. He got his touchdown, and there was something there was some stat that he's averaged a touchdown a game every game he's been active. That means nothing. Are you making the team better? Are you winning games? No.
He's a better fantasy football player than an actual football player.
So we both think the Giants win, right? We're both in on this.
I mean, what do you feel good about? Not too long ago, we're saying, what do you feel good about with the Giants? I feel much better about them than the Panthers. What do you trust about the Panthers right now? I'm not buying bigger.
The way I'll play it is advantages, right? If we do the advantage matchup, whatever. I think the Giants have the matchup advantage at head coach, mostly because of Matt Rule, not really anything to do with Brian Dable. I guess the quarterback's kind of a push, whatever.
Offensive an issue for Carolina.
Right. I give offensive line to New York. I give running back, run game in general to New York. I guess I give receiver, pass catchers to the Panthers. So our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, who are our sponsors over the SB Nation NFL show, have the Giants as 2.5-point favorites in this game. By the way, they have just so we say it, the Bengals are 8-point favorites. They started off as underdogs against the Cowboys. And the Dak injury happened. Then it climbed to 6.5 Cincinnati. Now it's at 8 Cincinnati.
Wow.
But Giants 2.5-point favorites. I like that. I'm in on the Giants. 2-0. Let's do it.
No disagreement here. I think that would be very realistic.
The Washington Commanders. This is the lock of the week. I'll say it right now on the look ahead. You'll hear us. By the way, you and I went undefeated in our locks. Your lock last week was the Dolphins by 4 over the Patriots.
3.5. Yeah.
3.5. And I had the Vikings as 1-point dogs against the Packers. Stats locked up the Eagles. And there was that backdoor cover. So
you missed it by half a point. Yeah.
Sorry to stats, but the Washington Commanders are 2.5-point underdogs against the Detroit Lions. Brandon,
I'll take the Lions. I think they showed some good things last week, and I'm not fully buying into Washington yet. I think the Lions could scrap out a win. That is a tough place to play. The Eagles had a lot of different timeouts and penalties, pre-snap penalties. The Lions fans were juiced up for that, and I think the performance they had was one that oh man, we were so close, but we're going to get it next week. And I think the fans are going to be juiced up again, and I think the Lions pull out the win here.
I don't know that I'm going to make this my lock of the week, but I do think that's I think that's not disrespectful to the Commanders, but I think it's still too juiced up on the Lions. There is some cool stuff, cool energy, cool vibes, whatever. They were not a good football team. I don't know how they managed to squeeze out 35 points. Cool. DeAndre Swift ran the ball, Jamal Williams too. But there's not a lot to believe in football wise. There are at least some things to believe in football wise when it comes to the Commanders. I will definitely pick them. I think they win. So we disagree here. I think I think they both get to 2-0. Look at
Carson Wentz a little less mobile than Jalen Hurts is what I would say. That's definitely a big weakness for Detroit. And I think, if Wentz is forced to throw the ball and isn't able to run like Jalen Hurts was, then I think that's going to be tougher for Washington.
So we both have the Cowboys starting off 0-2. We both have the Giants starting off 2-0. We are split on the Commanders. I have them starting off 2-0. You have them at 1-1. Monday Night Football. My Minnesota Vikings visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. I was going to say this when we were kind of dancing around the game early on. This, Brandon, is a preview of the NFC Championship game, a la 2017. And it's a preview in that this one will also be in Philadelphia, this title game. But the Vikings will win it. Hear me now, believe me later. This is a preview. And I'll go even farther because I'm just on one today. In the NFC Championship game, the most Philadelphia thing possible will happen. Jalen Reagor will catch the game-winning touchdown.
Okay, I know kind of being somewhat realistic, okay, and then you just took it to
that part is a little bit too much. But like, is that not the most like of course possible thing that could happen to the Eagles? Anyway. Okay. So Monday Night Football. This is one of two Monday night games. The Titans visiting the Bills in the other slot. So I will be watching both intently. Our friends at DraftKings have the Eagles as 2.5-point favorites over the Vikings. I love that. I love that for the Vikings. I think, dude, the Vikings looked good. I mean, RJ was right. RJ was right on Kevin O'Connell on his impact. Justin Jefferson looks like the best receiver in the NFL. And I could see this. I could see like Minnesota getting out to like a 14-point lead.
And best player in the NFL, not just receiver.
Right, I agree with you. Like, and I don't know that Philly has the horses to compete with that passing performance with the way they play the game, like we've talked about.
Over under on Justin Jefferson receiving yards. It has to be like 80.
Let's see here.
I've seen a lot of Eagles fans because I tweeted that after the game or during the Packers-Vikings game, and a lot of Eagles fans are like, well, the passing defense really wasn't an issue against the Lions as much as the run game. I'm like, okay, the Eagles did not face anyone close to Justin Jefferson against the Lions. The Lions do not have a receiver who was anywhere near that caliber, especially with Jameson Williams being hurt. I'm nervous about this one. And before the season, I believed that the Eagles were going to split their first two games. Either they were going to lose to the Lions and beat the Vikings, or they were going to beat the Lions and lose. Wait, did I just say that? I don't know. The point was I thought they were going to split.
So, 1-1.
I think this is a tough one. Kirk Cousins, it's different coaches. It's
oh my gosh, players. Kirk winning at Philadelphia in prime time would be so funny. Oh my gosh.
I don't believe in him. But I do believe in Justin Jefferson.
That was my take all along. Was Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell and the rest of the team. That offense is stacked.
Justin Jefferson to win MVP in our MVP 4th of July.
No, because again of the way the MVP award is structured. You know as well as I do that if Justin Jefferson had an Offensive Player of the Year award type season, that Kirk would win MVP if they won a lot of games.
I think if there were a quarterback who would not win MVP with a receiver that good, it would be Kirk, because not everyone loves Kirk. Anyway, I think Jefferson is going to be a problem. Darius Slay and James Bradbury are good cornerbacks, and maybe even really good cornerbacks. That doesn't matter. Like, Justin Jefferson is unguardable, it feels like, basically. He is another level, and I think he's going to be a really big problem. And for as much as I don't believe in Kirk historically has the Eagles' number. He just does. So he always, for whatever reason, pretty much has their number. So I don't feel great about the Eagles in this. I feel very good about the points. I would take the points. Maybe it's maybe if the Eagles win, it's a close game and they can win. But I think it's coming off of that Detroit game and the defense being as concerning as it was. And what if the Vikings get into a spot where, like, the Eagles have to pass a lot, and they might have to, because it's going to be a high volume passing attack from them with Justin Jefferson. So I think it'll be close, but I'm leaning Vikings early in the week here.
I'm easily taking the Vikings, but you're saying you're at least taking the Vikings with the points.
I am definitely, even if because it's early in the week, and I like to see the injury report. It's hard to make a pick now.
You like to flip flop. You can say it.
I like to see the injury report. I mean, that's a big deal. Like the Lions were suddenly missing their starting 2 right guards last week, and then their center was hurt too. And once that happened, I'm like, oh, okay, I feel good about the Eagles winning now. Although I did take Detroit to cover. I am going to take I feel very confident in this is going to be a close game. So I like the points from the Vikings, but I'm leaning towards them to win.
Again, this is per our friends at DraftKings, they have the third highest over/under overall on week 2. The highest, no surprise, belongs to the Thursday night game between the Chargers and Chiefs at 54.5. Do you have any guess at who? I don't know if you have all the games in front of you, but who?
No.
Give me a team who's involved in the second highest, because Eagles Vikings is third.
I don't. What's the question?
The highest over/under in week 2 belongs to Chargers Chiefs. The third highest belongs to Eagles Vikings. I know you don't have the entire schedule in front of you, but give me one of the two teams involved in the second highest. Chargers Chiefs is number 1, so it's not Chiefs.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not looking at the games.
I know. I literally said all of this information out loud. So the Chargers and Chiefs Thursday night have the highest over/under as of now at 54.5. The Eagles and Vikings game is third at 51.5. Yeah, you're looking to tell me one team involved in number 2.
One team involved in number 2. I'm glancing at the schedule here.
Okay, now you can tell me the games since you're looking at the schedule. So
is it this is tough. I don't see an obvious jump out contender.
Highest over/under, Chiefs Chargers, third highest, Eagles Vikings. Which game is number 2 on this list?
Is it
the fact that you were so unsure gave listeners a good amount of time to look up the schedule themselves?
Is it the Ravens Dolphins?
It is not. You want one more guess?
Titans Bills.
It is not. It is Titans Bills is actually a little bit lower. It's 49.5. It is Raiders Cardinals at 52.
What? Why? Who cares?
I mean, I'm just telling you.
Why did you bring this up? Why was this? Was this worth it? Here, I want to do this with you real quick since we kind of went through the Cowboys schedule. Let's say the Eagles, and take a brief note to say that we have the Giants being first in the NFC East, undefeated after week 2. How about that?
Well, I have the Giants and Commanders tied at 2-0.
I have the Giants alone. Again, apparently we don't talk about the Giants. I only have them being undefeated and top.
It's gonna be a good week at Big Blue View. Shout out to our friend Ed Valentine. So do what you want to do.
Let's say the Eagles beat the Vikings for the sake of this activity. They're 2-0.
Okay.
When does their first loss come? I will read you the schedule. I will read you the schedule. Week 3 at Commanders.
I'm looking at the schedule. It's not there. I know the answer, but go through the schedule.
You have the Commanders going 3-0.
No. So Eagles are 3-0. I know the answer, but keep going.
Okay. Week 4, home, Dougie P and the Jags.
No, 4-0.
Eagles are 4-0. All right. At the Cardinals.
Fraud-Nose, 5-0.
Eagles starting the season 5-0. You already took them to lose to the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football in Philly. So they're, 6-0?
Yep. And then on the bye. And then it's
the Steelers, who never win.
Eagles matchup. Oh no, because the Eagles will be undefeated on the bye. It'll be a 2-week long party for Eagles fans, and there'll be all sorts of I don't know if you have family who's Steelers fans. I'm sure that exists a lot, like lots of Eagles Steelers crossover.
My dad's family came from Western PA, so I think they're kind of Steelers fans.
There'll be a lot of cross pollination, people hanging out, doing stuff, seeing each other, making trips, whatever. It happens there. Mike Tomlin, he's the one who
never lose. The Eagles never lose to the Steelers.
I know, but Mike Tomlin, if there's somebody we talk about benefits of the doubt a lot. If there's somebody who you're he'll find a way, it's Mike Tomlin.
I agree with the premise, but that is a very winnable game for the Eagles still.
I will say though, but looking after that,
but then it's the Texans, and then it's the Commanders again, and then it's the Colts, and then it's the Packers who aren't looking hot right now.
Like I said, they're gonna host the NFC Championship game and lose to
the Giants, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Giants. Who should the Eagles be scared of on that schedule? The Packers, if they get their stuff together, okay. Who else? Anyone? Anyone?
No, if you're
an NFC team, so who cares?
Okay, but if you're Chicken Little, right? If you're scared of everything, these are the answers as far as what potholes to be weary of. The Jaguars, because it's Doug Peterson, right? Again, if you're super Eeyore about this, the Jaguars. I think you have to be worried about the second Cowboys game because you don't know what Dak's going to be, whatever. The Steelers, right? The Steelers. I say this again, hear me out. The Texans, because it's short week, Thursday Night Football on the road. Okay. It's more about the circumstances than it is the team.
It can be a letdown game, especially if you beat the Steelers.
Right. Maybe the Titans. Maybe the Saints in the penultimate week of the regular season. But other than that, I don't
Saints
see.
Almost lost to the Falcons. They're down 16 points.
I said maybe. Again, if we're playing Chicken Little, Eeyore, what are you really scared of? Those are the only ones. I'm
hating on you there. I'm just saying the Eagles have the Saints first round pick, as you know, and that was looking dicey.
Let me rephrase this. Rephrase your question. And keep in mind, the Eagles are favored over the Vikings, who are they going to be underdogs against? And I'll read the schedule out loud for the sake of the listeners because I know you know it. But so yes or no, are the Eagles favorites is the question. Yes or no at Washington week 3.
If Washington wins this week and the Eagles lose, then Washington could be favored.
I mean, some of that depends on the way like Washington and Philly both play, but you're right. But still, okay, Jacksonville.
Although, like if you want to talk about actually favored, because if Washington's favored by like 1 point at home, then they're not truly favored. You know what I mean? Like
fine, factor in the home field 3 points. So so Washington, no. Jacksonville, no. At Arizona, no. Maybe. But the
Cardinals have to play a lot better.
Right. Dallas, the first game, no. Pittsburgh, Eagles are not going to be underdogs.
No.
At Houston, no. Washington, no. At Indy, maybe if the Colts get around, but they won't. Green Bay, maybe.
Packers
Like that's probably the biggest one. That's a Sunday night game, by the way. Tennessee, no. At the Giants, at the Bears, at the Cowboys, maybe if the Cowboys catch. No, we're talking maybes. Like that's the only one. And then finishing the season,
definitely not the Saints. No.
Yeah, not the Saints. You're talking maybe three times the rest of the season. The Eagles will be dogs. So I keep the mask in the closet. You won't have the chance to wear it a lot this season, and enjoy the ride, and get ready to lose to Kirk Cousins in the NFC Championship game.
All right.
We did it all. We said it all. We had a good time. Football is pain. Thank God I have the Houston Astros to keep me through.
I want to play this for you. So real life NFC East Mixtape / look ahead conversation happened last night with my friend Holden and Zach. So have you ever heard of an app, RJ, called Cappuccino?
I have not.
Okay, so you might like this. So it's basically this app, and they're not a sponsor, but I like this app. Where shout out to my friend Abby who discovered this, and basically what you do is you submit a little podcast up to a little clip of your own. You can talk about how your day went, or like ask your friends a question, whatever.
It sounds like an ad, but it's not. Okay,
it's up to 3 minutes. You don't have to do it. Like you don't have to go to the 3 minutes, but that's the max time. And you all submit it as a group, and then those are your beans for the parlance here. And then the next morning, or you can set whenever time it comes out. It comes out basically as one podcast. Like all the clips play together, one after the other. So it's a nice way to stay in touch with your friends. Is the point of it all. Okay. We have this, and this was Holden's bean for today. Let me see if I can get this going here. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Zach goes, do you think RJ really likes you? Brandon goes, yeah. Who doesn't?
I stand by it.
Like, is the thing you're bragging about that I like you?
Yeah,
like we're friends. Yeah, we're really good friends. Of course, I like you.
Like, do you think he actually, likes you? I'm like, yeah. Who doesn't?
I mean, I can think of a lot of people. I can definitely think of a lot of people who don't. But
especially after my Jalen Hurts wasn't impressive to me as he was to others take from week 1.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I'm not gonna, man. The comment section in that winners losers article I do, because I put Jalen Hurts. I had the audacity, RJ, to put Hurts in the I don't know section as opposed to
did they not win the game? Did they not win? And that's what they won. What more? Brandon just hates. The Eagles could win the Super Bowl like they did 5 years ago, and Brandon would find a problem with it.
That is funny you bring that up, because I was not the biggest Nick Foles guy, and which I was somehow simultaneously both very right and very wrong about. So maybe I'll be that way with Jalen Hurts too. Maybe I'll be right in that, like, he isn't the guy to stir. He's not the straw to stir the drink, but somehow they end up winning anyway.
Again, the most, of course, possible thing that could happen here this season. The only way I can have any joy is if Kirk Cousins beats the Eagles in the NFC Championship game by throwing a last-second touchdown to Jalen Reagor. It would be just wonderful.
It's the only thing that could salvage the 2022 season for you.
It would be incredible.
Realistically.
Okay, Brandon.
All right.
Let's get out of here. As we do me a favor and tell us your favorite thing to dip into ketchup.
I don't like ketchup, so that ain't nothing.
Okay, dip into honey mustard.
So I'm not the biggest mustard guy, but honey mustard is okay. It's definitely not a go-to, but I would do, like, right now, honestly, that you brought that up, I kind of want to go to McDonald's now and get some nugs. I'm not like the biggest nugs guy. It's not something that I do a lot, but because you brought that up, I kind of want to go to McDonald's, get some
Get
nugs.
you a 20-piece.
Also not a sponsor, but if they want to
Yeah.
sponsor us, they can.
I will say, I haven't had a burger from McDonald's in probably like 20 years. But I get,
what would you get there?
I get a 20-piece. Get a 20-piece,
a
French
burger.
fries,
You're gonna
and
get a
sweet. I don't get a burger. I mean,
if
I'm saying,
we're going to, I'm asking you, what would you get? Like, would you get the Big Mac? Would you get the quarter pounder?
I wouldn't. I don't want a burger from McDonald's.
If you had to get a burger,
why would I have to? What is the situation? What are the circumstances in my life that have led to this being something I have to do?
Here's a little McDonald's hack that the aforementioned Holden showed me recently. So you get a McGriddle, but you do chicken instead of I don't know what's usually on a McGriddle, like sausage or whatever, bacon. So you get the chicken, you get a side of their grape jelly, and you put the jelly onto the chicken McGriddle, and next level hot sauce packet. Put that on there too. Boom.
Have you watched? This is the last thing we'll say.
I
will leave
after you're done.
Have you ever watched I think it's called McMillions on HBO?
No.
It's I recommended this to Stats, by the way, whoever can hear with us on the look ahead on the Explanation NFL
like
show.
Ray Kroc or whatever and everything.
No, it's about the Monopoly game at McDonald's and the like huge like mafia like scheme that ran it. Basically, it's like 6 episodes. My wife and I watched it right at the beginning of the pandemic. It is incredible. If you got HBO Max, pull it up. McMillions. Thank me later.
No, also not a sponsor. Last thing, I feel like we had to address this because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Right now, for the video listeners, I'm showing everyone. You can follow me on Instagram at Brandon Gowton.
Only plugging yourself. Interesting. Okay.
Breakfast sandwich that I made, RJ. Doesn't that look good? This is the first breakfast sandwich I've ever made here.
It looked burnt. That was why.
It's not burnt at all.
It looked that way.
You liked on it.
I know. Well, I'm your friend. I will like your things and support you and help you in the Instagram algorithm. But like I didn't. Do you really laugh every time you say LOL?
Every time. No, it was not burnt at all. What are you talking about? It was a great breakfast sandwich. It's bacon. Which do you know to cook? What's your bacon cooking method?
Oven.
I agree if you're getting a lot, but I do the water in the pan thing now. You put just enough water to cover the bacon. No, trust me, it works out perfectly. It cooks. It does not get too burnt, and there's no part of it that is
Nobody
like
asked
still
for this. Okay.
So do it that way. Bacon, egg, cheese, and then 2 hash browns on a pretzel, on a Wawa pretzel specifically. Cut a Wawa pretzel in half. Boom. Those are great. I'll make you one.
Okay. This is the appropriate thing to end on. Danny Heifetz, who does a great job at The Ringer, tweeted. I hadn't seen this. I did not watch the Manning cast. Admittedly, on Monday Night Football, I wanted to see Joe and Troy. So I haven't seen the Manning cast. So if anybody else did, I apologize. You didn't watch it, I presume. Right, Brandon?
Sure.
Okay, this is the last thing. And after I read this to you, I want you to give me just 2 words to respond to it. Eli Manning told a story on the Manning cast about him and Saquon Barkley. Eli told Saquon to run one route. Saquon thought he should run another. Eli responded, "If I tell you tomorrow is Easter, go paint some eggs."
Cowboys last.